Hey, it's Jen Thoden with yourcolorstyle.com. And today I have a very special guest. Her name is Jennifer Connolly, and she is from A Well-Styled Life. She has both a blog and an Instagram feed, and they are fantastic. It's all about helping women learn how to dress with confidence. Jennifer, welcome, and thank you for
Thank
chatting with me
you.
today.
I'm happy to be here. I'm looking forward to this very much.
Yes. So we're doing something a little bit different. Normally, you guys hear when I do an interview, I'm just chatting with the other person and we tell inspiring stories and it's all super great. Well, today we're going to do something a little bit different. Jennifer has signed up for a color analysis. She got the cards, she followed the instructions and took the photos. And I'm going to talk about her color analysis on the video live with you guys, and this is the first time really she's been presented with it. Now I did email it to her earlier this morning, but we haven't talked about it. This
Yeah,
is
I'm
going to
excited.
feel very live to me as far as sharing this
Yeah.
out loud, and so you guys get to hear me talk through how I came to her color type, and she gets to ask me questions live, which is a really unique opportunity. And I'm hoping that her audience who's watching and mine are both going to get a lot out of this one. So I'm
I know
really
my
excited.
audience is really interested in color. I get a lot of questions about it, and I don't do color, so I'm really, really looking forward to this.
Okay, so I'm going to share some photos, but first I want to give my first impressions to you from when we talked last on Zoom, because we talked before this interview,
Mm.
and also based on the photos that I had seen. So if I had never met you before, and you had some of the photos, here were my first impressions. My first impression was that you were very fair and light. Now, in your color style, there's deep, there's medium, and there's light. And the reason that that's important to me is it tells me a range of colors that are typically best on an individual. So someone who's fair like me or you, typically super dark colors are going to feel heavy and they're going to potentially be a little aging. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't wear those colors. It just means you should at least be conscious that it might be more of a serious mood or something like that. And honestly, I mean, as we get older, sometimes those darker colors can start to enhance some shadows that we may not want to enhance, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
but it's all by choice. And so I knew that you were not dark, you're not deep. I did test you a little bit in some medium colors just to see, like, because I noticed that you do have some brown in your eyebrows and stuff, and sometimes a little bit of contrast might be nice. So, but I knew that. The other thing that was my first impression of you based on the photos you sent were that your eyes were a really nice gray blue. They're very cool. They have a very, they're not like bright crystally blue. They're more like a gray blue. And that is a real key indicator to me as far as whether someone has more cool undertones or warm undertones. It's not always a guarantee, because I know that there are a small collection of people with gray blue eyes that have once had red hair that will have more warm undertones than expected. But I
Mm.
didn't get that from you. I see the brighter, shinier, ashy blonde hair and the gray blue eyes. And so my immediate reaction was cool undertones and uh, light. But I wasn't too sure whether or not you could wear brighter colors better or softer colors better. And so this is where I started to play with your photos in Photoshop, and I'll show you guys in a second. I colorized her lips, and you can really see very quickly where it doesn't fit at all, and sometimes it's a process of elimination. So I'm going to share a couple photos if that's okay with you.
Yep.
Okay, and then you can. We have. By the way, before we started recording, Jennifer had a lot of really good questions around hair color, so we're going to get into all of that. But I wanted to just show you guys her analysis. I'm going to actually share her ebook that she got. It is one of the things you get when you sign up for a color analysis. You get a full ebook with your digital color palette and all the thinking that goes into the analysis. And so she got that. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. All right. And so, all right. So this is, now you can see, this is a photo that she sent me, and you can see that she's got Very bright. She looks great. Her hair in the sun is very, very shiny, has a brighter intensity to it. So you probably already see where I'm leaning towards, but I still want to show you a little bit of the thought process, because here she is with the cards. Now, she was a little nervous because she wasn't wearing makeup, which I asked her not to do. And I know it's a little tough sometimes to show yourself without makeup, but I think she looks great. And it really helps me see true colors. The other thing I will point out is that her photos came through a little cooler than I think that she is in person. But I don't think that swayed the analysis very much, because in general, I still think that she is very cool. So when you see these, I'm looking for harmony. I don't really see harmony with these colors here, these warm colors against her skin. And I didn't go past medium in these photos because, again, she's not deep. I did start to see harmony here with the soft cool and light and the bright cool and light. It wasn't enough information for me, but I was definitely getting a vibe that she's more cool than warm. I did do some quick colorizations of her lips just to kind of really drive the point home. And here's what I discovered. On the right, you see her. If someone were bright and warm and medium, they can actually wear this lip color really well. It's not something necessarily I would wear, but you could wear it and you wouldn't look like you're painted. But for her, this is just simply not in harmony because she is so much cooler than this warm card. On the left side, I have bright, cool, and medium. And I'm not a fan of this either. Not because I don't think she's bright and cool, but I do think these colors are a little too harsh. The color is overpowering her, and we're starting to lose alignment. I look at that light hair, light skin, light eyes. I'm looking for that harmony wherever. You shouldn't have to notice the color as much. It should be the person you see that's really enhanced by that color, not the other way around. Okay. And so there's soft, cool, and medium, which I really didn't like. So I was torn a little bit. I thought that when I first looked at her that she would be more soft, meaning that she wears more muted colors better, more grayed, softer colors. But I didn't really think it did much for her. And I put the brighter, lighter pink lip on her and the brighter pink. I just really think that you really lit up. And that right there really told me that, yeah, you're probably bright, cool, and light. So I went through, these are called blushing colors. They are really a set of colors that are just your pinks that look really good as blush and lips. There's more in the digital color palette and fan, but these are kind of what I feel are differentiators between someone who's warm or cool. And again, I colorized you, and it's not that you look bad in the soft and cool. You look really pretty. It's very nice and elegant, but I also think you can tolerate the brighter colors. Maybe not the super, super bright. That might feel a little too intense, but I definitely think you can wear those brighter colors. And if you can wear the brighter colors, you're going to want to pull from that color palette, not the soft color palette. That's going to feel a little bit too gray on you. Okay. And so one more thing that I will share in the ebook, you see this little chart here. This is called the intensity chart. And it's unique to your color style. It's something that it's part of my thinking process when it comes to methodology. And what we're looking at here is when I talk about intensity, I'm talking about pigment and the extremes that you have. And what this shows me is the level of contrast that you should wear. So in patterns, and in contrast with yourself and your skin. So you don't have very high contrast. So that means that low contrast and solids are going to be your best bet when it comes to patterns. And even with yourself, that's why also those dark colors sometimes don't feel right, because they might be a little too high contrast against your skin. Okay. So 0 here means 0 pigment. Blue eyes are considered 0 pigment. There's not enough there for me to say you've got some pigment. Like my eyes have a little bit of green. There's a little bit of pigment, so it might be a 1. Okay. Your hair also has lower pigment. I know that naturally it's probably a little grayer, right? You had said that. It's also blonde, and I think it conveys blonde no matter what, and it's very light, so it has very little pigment. It's not brown. It's certainly not red. And so it's right here. And so right here you can tell that this is a very low contrast profile. And so that's kind of the color range that you would go in. To explain someone that say has very, very dark hair, like almost black, for example, with bright blue eyes, their eyes will be on the 0, their hair might be over at 5. And that difference tells you that they look probably great in geometric high contrast patterns. Okay, so that's what this tool does for me. And it's a tool for you to kind of remind you of what's in most harmony with your coloring, even if you want to wear something different. It's just guidelines. Okay, so bright, cool, and light. And here she is draped in some of those beautiful colors that I just know that she would look amazing in. And yes, yellow, like a lemon yellow.
Yeah, the yellow is interesting.
Yeah. A lot of people think, oh, well, yellow is a warm color. It's on the warm side of the color wheel, so I can't wear that if I have cool undertones. But it's not true. Don't wear a warm yellow, like an orange yellow. That's not going to suit you. But a lemon yellow that's kind of teetering towards more on the green than the red side is actually great on you and a lot of fun to wear. So you should try that if you haven't tried that yet.
No, I don't own anything yellow.
Yeah, well, most people who I think with their coloring don't, but I think it'd actually be really, really fun to wear. So there you go. And you got your blue grays in there that match your eyes and some lavender. And so this is her color palette here that she gets to play with. And now you can see that I even go a little bit deeper. It's just because she's bright and light doesn't mean that she can't have some contrast. And I customize this color palette for bright, cool, and light because there is a little bit more intensity in the fact that the blue eyes are on the left spectrum. There's a little contrast that'll be nice. So you can see here we got a little bit of deeper raspberries, some deeper teals, and that kind of a thing. There's your lemon yellows, and so you can have some fun with this. So
And
there you
not a
go.
black
There's
and
your
white.
cool and light. I know. So, do you have questions?
Basically, yeah, the hair color thing is curious to me. Now, obviously, I haven't colored my hair in quite a while. We haven't been able to. But my hair started out as ash. It's always been ash, but now it's getting even cooler because it's getting grayer.
Mm-hmm.
So when I get back to the colorist and I add the low lights and the hair has more depth to it, what's that going to do to my color?
Okay.
Versus, bright versus the soft. How will that change?
Well, that's interesting. Because right now I feel like you're right in between. And I feel like your personality though really enjoys those brighter colors too. And personality does matter. It doesn't necessarily dictate the color type. Like, there's some people believe that, if you in seasonal color analysis, they'll say, if you're a winter, you have a bolder personality or those kind of things. I don't really necessarily relate to that, but I do think that when someone's kind of right in the middle, where
Mm-hmm.
you could just, if you had a quieter personality, you might say, I actually like wearing the softer colors. And I would say you could do that and you would look great.
Right.
But I also think that because your coloring is right there with the brighter hair, because I do see brightness,
Mm-hmm.
you could wear those brighter colors and you look great. And I can tell by some of the photos you see in the clothes you're wearing, you really prefer those brighter colors as well. So I think it's a good fit. If you go a little darker, don't go too dark.
Mm-hmm.
Like kind of keep it with your eyebrows and stuff. Don't go too dark because you're already naturally fair. This is what you naturally are. So going anything too dark is you're going to feel off a little bit.
Right.
So if you do put some low lights in to give yourself some dimension, a little contrast, I would not go to bright, cool, and medium. And the reason is because someone who typically wears the bright, cool, and medium palette is a very vibrant, slightly higher contrast palette, and really designed for someone that has a little bit much more intensity in their coloring. You going with a little bit of more low lights and stuff still kind of keeps you in that lower spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't really make you suddenly bright, cool, and medium. If anything, I would just say, look at you can play more with the darker colors in your palette a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And you could look at the soft, cool, and medium color palette to see if you gravitate towards some of those deeper colors. I just think that you're kind of right there in the middle where I would just stick with the bright, cool, and light, in my opinion.
Okay.
I don't see enough softness in you where I would say, oh, it completely changes you. I think it actually probably stays the same. And then really what you might feel is that you can wear a little bit of darker colors.
Right.
So you could look at your color palette and kind of go, there's enough depth in that color palette where you may not need to go any deeper anyway.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't think your colors change too much with
Right.
that.
If I look in my closet, it's a sea of neutrals and pretty toned down, grayed down clothes
Okay.
that are beginning to
Really
feel, yeah, and they're beginning to feel really boring. Like
interesting.
this is new because I wanted some color. I never wear pattern. This is new. Of course, being locked in for, a couple of weeks will do that for you. And brand gave me these, but I've been craving color. And so this is, fascinating. Now, when I was going through the cards, it was interesting because I thought that the soft, warm, and medium, that quite a few of those colors looked right on me. And I don't know
I
where
would
that came from. It just, some of them, I looked at them next to my skin and I thought, I've never considered those colors, but they're not awful.
Yeah, so there is a subtle range. So here's what's happening, and this is why it's hard sometimes for people to kind of see what I see sometimes. But here's what's happening: there is a subtle range that someone who's fair, like you and me, I don't know why, but this is what I've learned in doing this is that we tend to have a little bit more tolerance in wearing the colors that are opposite us in the color wheel. So what I mean by that is, I'm bright and warm. So the warm color is going to look really great on me. Golden yellows, for example, tomato reds look great on me. But I can still tip over into some of the cooler pinks. Once it gets too cool, then it's like, that doesn't work for me anymore. And the same for you. You can wear up, those magenta pinks going through to true red, but in that range, there's pastel pinks that feel a little warm, but they're still I'm going to say neutral enough
Mm-hmm.
that you can wear them and they feel okay. Now, the more orange it gets, the more it's not going to be okay. But there is a little bit of a forgiveness there because you're not obviously cool or warm. You have a very neutral appearance about you, which is why I was going to type you originally as soft and cool, which is why I said you're right there in that border.
Mm-hmm.
And typically what happens when someone is soft, they have a little bit of a balance of warmth and coolness in their coloring, or brightness and softness in their coloring, and it neutralizes them a little bit. So they appear neutral, but I also think that allows them a little bit of a forgiveness going
Mm-hmm.
into that warmer side of the color wheel. So I
Right.
think what you might have been seeing are those light pinks that are closest to the true red that probably didn't look bad on you. You're probably like, it seems to be okay. And I would
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. But as soon as you went to the oranges and those earthy
Oh.
oranges, no way, right?
Mhm.
And that's how
Yeah.
you know that's not going to be your card.
Yeah.
Those cards are designed really to be the outliers, which means if you can't wear them, it's probably not your color type,
Right.
right? And so that's why. But that's what you're seeing. You're feeling that you can wear red. You can wear
I don't own
red.
anything. Well, and that's not true. I own a red skirt.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's it. One red
And red,
skirt.
like bright red might really feel like too much, but like a soft red or like a nice pink that's kind of a pastel version of that red is, all pinks are really going to look really, really good on you, by the way.
Yeah,
So
I
I don't know
like
if you haven't worn pink before, you should definitely wear pink.
I like pinks. It's interesting. I tend to like warmer pinks rather than
Okay.
cooler pinks. I don't know why, but I just sort of gravitating to them.
And you should wear whatever it feels good, right? But if you have mostly neutrals now,
I do.
then just start, just
A
popping
lot of
stuff
black.
in. Huh?
A lot of black.
A lot of
A
black.
lot of black in my wardrobe, yeah.
Now, is that by default? Like, because you just never thought about it before? Like, why?
Well, I worked in retail for many years and running boutiques, and everything came in black. So I have some nice, collectible pieces that are in black, and black is easy.
Yeah.
It's easy. It is slimming. It does hide dirt. It's easy to travel with. And it's also a cop out. Black is a cop out. So I've been, sort of spreading out to other colors because I have that base of black. It's so easy to grab another pair of black shoes,
Yep.
but I don't need another pair of black shoes. It would be more fun to have a color.
Yeah.
So that's
Exactly.
why this intrigued me so much, to get some direction on, what colors. And I was intrigued at the neutrals that you gave me. They're like a grayish brown
Yeah, the
kind of
taupes, the
color.
cool
Yes,
taupes. Mm-hmm.
yes. And in there was what my original hair color was taupe.
See, yeah, and I feel like so that's what I think of as like your best neutral, because it's a color, it's a non-color, right? It's like it's
Yes.
that cool brown, but
Yeah.
it's a very quiet look for you, but
Mhm.
it's probably so beautiful too. So I can
It's
see
hard to
you.
find. That's the problem. It's hard to find. And
Well,
that's what,
sure, that is always the trick, right?
yes.
It's like when you see it, get it.
Yeah.
And I don't blame you. It's not always easy to find, but it's one of those things that when you start to now now that we're talking about it, you're going to start to do what a lot of people do. You start looking at color differently.
Mm-hmm.
Is that brown a warm brown or a cool brown? Or you
Mm-hmm.
see things now on, well, when we can go shopping again, you'll see greens, and then you'll see like, wait, is that a warm green or a cool green? You start to kind of dissect everything you're looking at, and it's so much easier when you have something to compare to.
Mm-hmm.
Often I've seen retailers put down two different beiges. One is definitely warmer than the other one. You're like, oh, okay, that's the cool one, and oh, that's the warm one, and you can kind of pick up. So your goal is not going to be to find the exact match, because like you said, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
start looking for, especially when the weather gets colder too, you're going to be looking for more browns. Like maybe not now.
More
Like,
browns.
you're going
Most
into warm
browns I
weather
see
now.
tend to be warm, and I guess that's why I've never gravitated to them.
Yeah. And the other thing too is you can just use it for your accessories, right? So those cool taupes and bags and shoes and stuff could also just be a really great grounding neutral, just instead of black,
Yeah.
right? You try something like that, and you might be surprised at how much you actually like it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I would like it if I found it. Now, I had a question too. What do you think about wearing it? If you wear warmer colors, does it tone down your pink, or does it just kind of make you look dead?
If you wear warmer colors with your pink, does it tone down the pink? So depends on the person. So for you, I would avoid warmer colors near your face.
Okay.
So I would, if there is something that you have that tends to be on the warmer side and you're starting to see it now, like, oh, it's really not my color palette, then that's when you layer on something that's cool.
Close
That
to the face.
might
Yeah.
offset that appearance of it being too warm. So I don't know, again, and it could be jewelry. It could be like, for me, like when I wear black, I love black, and I wear gray, and those are not my best colors, but like you said, like I still wear black, and especially when, not now, but it's still fun. Like even wearing it with a tan, like wearing a black t-shirt or something is still fun. But what I have to do for me, because I don't like the way I look in it, so I start to balance it off. Like I'll put on like a really gold statement necklace or something to really give me some brightness and some warmth. Lipstick. I'll put on more lipstick than I don't normally wear a lot of lipstick. None of my videos really show me wearing a lot of. I just don't like. It's just not me. But I will put more on to balance it out.
That's what I do with black. I just up the makeup. I just have to up the contrast on me so that the black does not.
Yeah, it's sort of that balancing technique. So if it was like a little bit of cooler weather, or if you're going out and you're wearing something black on top, and you want to start to kind of practice like being more in harmony with your coloring, I would get like an icy pink or a light pink, like fashion scarf, and like put that around your neck. So now you've got this beautiful, and of course pink and black is beautiful, like, or any of the colors that you've got in your palette, right? You could put as some kind of fashion scarf around you, have the black as just the neutral, but now you're really in alignment up here, and then you have your black for your slimming and for your your fashion and whatever else that you are
Okay.
looking at. I love neutral. I love a neutral wardrobe. You know, it's funny. I talk about color all the time, and I tell people to wear their color. And my wardrobe is also very neutral, especially in the cold weather. It's very camel browns and charcoal grays. I just love that look. And so,
Yeah, I do too. I've always wanted to wear camel, and I won't be able to do
yeah,
it. I
I
never
wouldn't
can.
recommend it. I mean,
No,
well,
and I
here,
look like a corpse in camel. A corpse.
yeah, it's funny. My husband, who his type is soft, cool, and medium, so he's got a little bit more gray blend, brown blend, and he's definitely far more soft. Like bright colors really don't work on him. But it's so funny because he always gravitates towards camel brown. I'm like, and I always go, no,
Not a good look.
no. Now, again, there's a line there, right? Like when you define camel brown, it tends to be a golden brown, but the more you start looking at the beigey browns, they do go cool. And every once in a while, I'll find one that's fairly cool. I'm
Taupey.
like,
Yeah.
okay, you can wear that one. That would be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And of course, he's delighted. He's like, oh, but the golden color is just no.
Yeah. Not yeah. So now what if I were to go white? I mean, I don't think I'm going to, but if I, suddenly my hair went more silver than it is. This is as much silver as I have, which is, so it's not a tremendous amount,
No.
but if I did go white, because a lot of my readers, their hair goes white, what happens to their coloring? Do they need to go brighter?
They do need to go brighter. They really do. So, and this is an interesting conundrum because for someone like you, it's not too much of a reach as far as coloring goes. And so you're already wearing bright and cool and light colors. So when your colors don't change, but for other people, it definitely can. So they could be for 10, 20 years in a gray phase, right? Or maybe a blend. And it's possible that based on their coloring that they look much better in the softer, more muted colors because they're kind of gray and they're a little bit neutral and they're looking really great in those softer colors. But if they go white, there's a time where you go from soft and light to tipping over to really needing the brighter colors. And so when the hair goes completely white, it's kind of like what I showed you on that intensity chart where I had the blue eyes over in 0 because there's no pigment. Well, it's kind of the same thing. When your hair goes to no pigment, it's going to go in that 0 marker, which means it actually means higher intensity. And you really need those brighter colors to lift you back up. At that point, you've got a brighter hair and those gray color. It's just going to make you look older. You really want those brighter colors to kind of brighten you up.
To pick you up.
Yeah. Now, another thing that's interesting that happens is that loss of pigment, sometimes, not all the time. I want to be very clear on this one. Sometimes, though, it can cool you where you used to wear warm colors and now you're wearing cooler colors. And that can happen. It just really depends on the individual. I've seen people who've gone completely white, but their skin is darker and they've held onto that pigment and they've stayed warm. And so they have this really interesting combination of wearing warmer colors, but they have this white hair. And so their contrast changed. And so they can wear a white shirt, but it's not really in the warm color palette. So it's just a really interesting, this happens more often than you might realize. And someone who has red hair, who has been wearing bright and warm colors all along, often people who have red hair will just go completely white. There is no in between. They just go gray one day and they go very, very bright white. And it's that moment where they could potentially, because of their bluish gray eyes and their hair goes gray and white, they may actually look better in some of the cooler colors than they used to because all that pigment left their hair.
That makes total sense. Yeah,
so it's just total sense. Yeah, and so it's just one of those things where people ask me all the time, well, what would I be? I'm like, well, it really depends on the individual. It's not a rule of thumb. It's not like, oh, all of a sudden you're 80 and you must wear cool colors. That's not true. Not true at all. It's just everyone's different.
And you change. And as you age, things fade.
Yeah.
And people who've had their colors done, 20, 30 years ago, they stick to those colors and those colors aren't true for them anymore because they've changed.
That's right.
So I think it's always a good idea to get a fresh look at where are you now? Get a barometer on where you are now and how your coloring has changed.
I 100% agree. I have a lot of women that come to me and they've had their colors done, like you said, 20, 30 years ago, and they don't understand right away why those colors aren't feeling right anymore. And it could be, I mean, often what it is that they're, like you said, their color is changing. Either their hair is softening. Sometimes their eyes change a little bit. We are always changing. Like our bodies, our coloring, everything about us is constantly changing. And everybody's different. But often what happens is that people come like, the colors that I was typed forever ago don't work. I don't understand why they don't feel good anymore. And when I look at them, I'm like, oh, it's because some of these colors are feeling a little too bright on you. You know, you've softened a little bit. And sometimes people think that's a negative thing, but I don't think so. I think it's just, like you said, you got to kind of just connect with who you are right now and what feels good right now. Some people just don't care at all, right? They're just like, no, this is me, and I like wearing these colors, and I don't care if it's in alignment with me. And other people really want to readdress that and feel better about themselves. And
and it gives them guidance. They like that. They like to have that formula to know that they can go down this path confidently, wear these colors, keep an eye out for those colors and know that they're going to be flattering on them. But I think so many women have fans from the whole Color Me Beautiful time. We all read that book when that book came out. It was a smashing success. And some people are still carrying those fans, and they're just not right. Nor were they precise enough. They're so limiting. Even in the 16 season, it's so limiting, and people are individual. So to have it done specifically for you is much better.
Yeah, that the seasons are very limiting. I think it was a brilliant idea. And did you know that it actually did not originate in the 80s. It actually it was actually created early 1900s, late 1800s, I forget. People don't realize that. So they get all spun up when they're like, oh, that's just these, that's just you're just doing what Carol Jackson did or whatever. I'm like, well, she didn't actually create seasonal color analysis. She just marketed it well. And
it was marketed very well.
Sure.
Very well. She actually trained with someone who did take personality into it. She just cut that right out of it. She wanted to make it simple and idiot proof. So she came up with 4, which is ridiculous.
Not enough.
We're so much more than just 4 types, and personality is huge.
Yeah, it really is. And again, like I try to come up with a system that you can customize without feeling like you suddenly are changing types or changing seasons. I want people to understand that, I'm giving you a color type, right? I'm still saying, like, to you, you wear the bright, cool, and light color palette, but I want you to understand what that means, because there's no way that my color palette or the fan is going to have all the colors that you could wear. It's impossible. Like it would cost me a fortune, and then it would cost everyone a fortune, and that's not good business, right? So I picked the best ones. But if you understand what types of colors work on you, then the more you learn and kind of study your own colors, the more you'll see in stores that that's not an exact match, but I know that's going to look good on me. And it expands your world. It's like you start to think, okay, that's probably a little bit too dark on me, but gosh, I really like it. And that's okay, because now it's a choice. It's decision versus not knowing what you're wearing or default.
Yes.
Well, I don't know what to wear, so I'm just going to wear black. Well, okay, but what if you did know what you could wear? And what if you wore something that people went, wow, because it takes years off of you when you wear something that really flatters you.
It's huge. And it does so much for your spirits and your mood. Color is such a powerful, powerful tool. Yeah. So to not use it, you're really limiting yourself.
Yeah.
So, well, this has been exciting.
This has been so much fun. Thank you so much for letting me do your color analysis on video.
Thank you. Very fun.
And so for everyone that's watching, how can they learn more about you? Where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, and my website at awellstyledlife.com.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I'm easy to find.
Yeah, so just for everyone who's watching, her blog is great. You can shop her outfits. She's got some really just personal anecdotes with her styling, and then her Instagram has a lot of great inspiration and ideas too. So definitely check her out. I will put those links in the description below this video so people can just come on over and check you out and stuff. And so Jennifer, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. This has been wonderful. Really a lot of fun.
Great.
Thanks, Jen.
No problem. Bye for now.